Wow, we are live. Sandy, I see that you are very much early. Well, thanks for joining us. And with me, I have the outstanding quarter miler, Dr. Gregory Haughton, aka Dr. Greg. Dr. Greg, we're going to do this in two parts. We're going to talk about you a little bit first, and then we are going to get into some track and field business. So, Dr. Greg, tell me, who is Gregory Haughton? Who was Gregory Haughton as a little boy? Which parish you hail from? Tell me a little bit about your junior years.
Well, I was born in East Kingston. Um, we call it Rollington Town, and I spent about 3 years there, and then I moved to Woodford Park, which is over Almontown. And forever since I was an athlete, I was always running around. I always seemed to be faster than the peers my age, and I always seemed to be very self-driven, self-motivated. I remember back in the days, I went to Exeter Primary. I'm proud to say that I went to Exeter Primary and went over to Excelsior High. And the teachers usually utilize my speed and have me run around the school. Anything they wanted, they would call Little Greg, and Little Greg would be all over the place. And I remember that career came to an end one day when the teacher gave me some money to buy her lunch, and I was coming back from the cafeteria, and I was moving like the speed of light and slip and fell, and the soup spilled all over the place. First time I'm
Wow.
actually telling that story though, but I was very dependable as a young boy, and the teacher saw that in me, and they felt like they should protect me and help me to grow. So that's a little bit about me. When I got older, at the age of 12, I moved to Seaview Gardens, and most of my childhood days, were growing up Seaview Gardens, hanging out with people my age, doing good and bad things. And that's a little bit about who Greg Horton is.
What inspired your track and field career, and how early did you started out doing track and field?
Well, from ever since, as I said, I remember when I was in first grade, there were times when I remember one day the principal came to my house in Woodford Park because the rain was falling, and I decided that I wasn't going to any primary jobs. And the team depended on me so much that they I don't even know how they found where I live, but the principal came. My mother had to put on my uniform and send me with her. So from ever since I was known to like track and field. But when I went to Excelsior High School for the first 4 years, it was very difficult to make the team. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was too skinny. Maybe it seemed like I wasn't that good of an athlete. But at the age of 12, I won the all primary champion boy title. So the talent was always there because I could beat other youth, my peers. But, go to Excelsior, I waste a lot of time running around doing the wrong thing. But in terms of inspiration, I used to hear about Herb McKinley. I used to hear about Merlin Ottey, because we used to get those little small books in primary school. I used to hear about Bertland Cameron. So I heard what they did. We used to listen to them on the radio. And that's how my first real love, because even though I was running at an early age, I wasn't really thinking about doing this as a career. I was just running. But once I started to get older and I started to hear about the Herb Mack and the Bertland Cameron and the Merlin Ottey, I didn't have any strong desire to be like them, but I felt like it was something that I could do. When I was in third form, and so I heard about the Daniel England, those guys. You wanted to be like those guys because those guys, they were more um, dominating track and field in their age group. So everybody wanted to be like a Daniel England, a Glendon England, and so on. So that was when I really started to think that maybe I could do this. Yes.
Tell me about high school and competing at champs. Let us talk about your champs career a little bit. What was it like for you? Who were some of your main rivals?
Well, as I said earlier, I my first 4 years in high school, I did not compete for Excelsior. I went over the team 4 times, and the coach thought I was not good enough. And I remember he made me try out in the rain, and I thought I did well. And he said, he gave me his little pointers and sent me on my merry way. But when I went to Boys Champs the first time, I think it was 1990, they took me, that was the first time I'm actually running. So what they did, somebody scratched from the 400 meters and they threw me in it. No, I had no practice. I thought I was a speed merchant because I used to run the 100 and the 200 meter, but that's one of the most cruel thing anyone have ever done to me. So he threw me in the 400 meters. I never forget that day. I had Carlos Samuels, who was at the prime in class two. Glendon England was in that race. And I thought I could win that race, and I got out and held my position, and they passed me down the straightaway. And I think the coach saw that, and he said, "Wow, this guy is good." So he started having big plans for me, which would be the year 1990, I think 91. It didn't work out because he lost his job at Excelsior. So because of that, now we had a new coach, and that new coach came in, saw me, felt like I had potential to go far. He liked my attitude. And then he said, "You know what? I'm going to build a team around this guy." And that was it. The first year I made the final at the Boys Championship. I ran against people like Rudolph Mighty, Carl McPherson, Donovan Powell. And the next year, 1992, was my year when I came out, and, you know, things was just going up and up and up, and it never stopped.
Wow, what a story. You would have competed in an era, as you said, with Daniel England, Donovan Powell, and Rudolph Mighty. What was it like competing with those guys who were like seasoned guys? Because the name Daniel England, if you're a track and field fan, especially if you grew up in the 80s and the 90s, you would have known the name Daniel England. What was it like getting into a group with those guys, knowing that you weren't like coming from, say, class three, like, you know, other athlete? What was it like fitting in and being able to compete to the highest level?
Mm. Um, Everybody wanted the opportunity. For me, I was motivated by um, I was motivated by getting equipments because I remember seeing those guys and I saw them in their brand new Adidas Tarshan and everything, and I had my old shoes. So it was something for me, it was a motivator because I want what they had in terms of the benefits that they were getting. So for me, it was an opportunity. I really didn't care much. I just wanted the chance to prove myself. Now I can tell you, I got a couple chances with Rudolph Mighty. He was always victorious. But when it came about the 400 meter, I felt like I was the man there. I could dominate that event. So I really didn't get much of a chance to run against the 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 um the the Donovan Powell and so on because they were a little bit ahead of my time. But when I went to college, I saw them on the circuit over there, and it was my time to say payback. So, but for me, Heather, I was always a very focused individual. Once my mind is zoned into something, I feel like I can achieve anything I set my mind to. So, those guys saw the talent in me, and they too, you could tell that they were thinking like, you know what, this guy looked like he is the new kid on the block. So you could tell that there were a certain level of respect when I came about. But I can tell you it was always respect, it went both ways because I had a lot of respect for them based on some of the things that they did. But I also wanted that respect because I felt like, track and field was my only way out of the inner cities. And I was going to make the best of it no matter what.
You spoke about very focused and determined. You have been to quite a few universities. Tell me what the transition was like for you, leaving high school in Jamaica, going overseas to study. Tell me a little bit about that transition. How different was it for you?
Well, I was very motivated, and I tell you why. In high school, I really didn't spend a lot of time focusing on my academics. And I remember when some of my friends got their subjects, I was there left looking into space like, wow, I wasted all of my time that way. So when I went to college, Central Arizona College, I was on a mission. So the transition was somewhat easier, even though it was new to me, but my mind was already conditioned to do whatever I could in order to come out on top academically and athletically. I spent a lot of time learning the fundamentals. The good thing for me that it gave me some time to adapt, especially athletically because it was a new system and my body couldn't take the work. I remember there were days when I had to stop in practice and the coach was looking at me like, I think they gave me the wrong guy. Because I was so out of shape but I pushed it, I pushed through. I remember getting up in the morning doing my extra run because one of the last thing I want is to be the weak link on the team. So whatever I could do to improve my abilities, I would do it. And I was always in the academic center trying to get my work out of the way. After a year, things came easy. I started to excel academically and athletically. And but my thing to you, Heather, is
Were you on a scholarship, a track and field?
yes,
Okay.
there's the only way I could pay for college. So the good thing about it is that I got enough support from the people in Jamaica. I can say this proudly that even the J3As, they supported what I was doing. My high school supported what I was doing. Some of the managers and friends supported what I was doing. So I had a lot of energy, positive energy, helping me throughout my entire career. In terms of the transition, when I moved over to George Mason, it was much easier because I already established myself both academically and athletically, and I already knew how the system operate. So it was just easy for me to utilize all the help that I could get, and I made the best of every opportunity that I could get.
What was your system like balancing sports and academics?
Well, the good thing about it, universities in the States usually provide all the support you need. So if you need a tutor, it was there. If you need a mentor, it was there. You usually have friends who also could assist in different areas. I had a good friend by the name of Lewis McDonald. He's still my best friend today. I remember when I went to George Mason for the first time, he took me under his wings. He showed me how to pick the classes. Everything that I needed to be successful, I had it. So there was no reason for me to fail. There was every reason for me to be successful.
Sounds good. Sounds good. You, Gregory, an outstanding quarter miler. You won at the highest level, both in sports and in academics. Olympic medalist at the 1996 Olympic Games. You came back 4 years after at the Sydney Olympics and you won two medals. You are one of the most outstanding quarter milers that we have with a personal best of 44.56. Many are struggling to run that. Tell me a little bit about that achievement and your experience being coached with Michael Johnson, with one of the top quarter miler coaches, Clyde Hart. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I can say that I take pride in what I do as a 400-meter runner because of the hard work and sweat and tears that you put in it. There were times when you just don't know what would the outcome be. There are days when you were just alone, you felt like you're in a dark place. Like in 1996, that was one of the time I was at my lowest point. Even though I was on the team, I felt like I didn't want to be there because of my own personal expectations. I wanted to be a part of the 400-meter individual race because I won the bronze a year earlier. So in track and field, things don't always go your way, but I can tell you that for me, it was a learning process because each time I went higher, I realized that I didn't know. And and when you don't know, it means that you're entering a realm that can be very dangerous. And that's what happened to me. My senior year in college, I took on some activities. School started to get hectic because I wanted to graduate, and I think I bite off a little bit more than I could chew. And then things just started to get rough. I wasn't able to focus the same way because I felt like I was doing this for so long. It was time for a change. And then the opportunity came. We had to go with Coach Hart in Waco, Texas. And that was like a rebirth because I felt like a George Mason, nothing was going positive anymore. And then I realized while training with Michael Johnson that there were so many things that I didn't know in terms of 400-meter and getting the body and the mind to the highest level. And believe me, the first year there, it was extremely tough because, again, it reminded me of going to Central Arizona. I started doing the workout and I couldn't cope, and I remember the couple of the guys, the collegiate guys, came over to me from Baylor and they were saying, be strong. It's a matter of time. You will get there. So think about me being an Olympian and the collegiate guys are telling me that, be patient. This is new to you. It will take some time. So what I did the same way at Central Arizona, I got up in the morning, I started doing my own workout because I too wanted that confidence. So I was trying to get myself in shape. And after about 8 months, it eventually worked out for me. And I remember winning the Pan American Games shortly after. And that was one of the greatest performances in my life because I was able to come from at the bottom and I fought my way back to the top. So the journey, Heather, it's a very challenging one. People see us sometimes and they think it's an easy road, but I can tell you it's not an easy road because
I'm glad that you say that because a lot of times we see athletes out there competing and we think that, oh, it's an easy ride for them. We have no idea what you guys go through from day to day. So I'm happy you said that. Continue.
yes, and things started to go up. I remember one time I was having a discussion with my agent because I moved from one agent to the next um, when I went to Waco, Texas, and the agent said to me, Greg, and this was after the 2000 Olympics when I finished third. He said, Greg, I honestly thought that it was it for you. I had no idea that you would pull your way up from so low. And I said to him, but I was only 24 at the time. Why did you think that I wasn't going to find my way? And he said a lot of athletes, when they get that early success, they usually never find their way. So I give God thanks for that, Heather, because I can't just take all the credit for that. Because if Michael Johnson didn't give me the opportunity, Coach Hart didn't give me the opportunity, the BLR collegiate guys didn't give me the opportunity. People like Marlon Ramsey, Brandon Coates, and many others who stood by me and support me. And I'm saying that to say that a lot of American athletes supported my cause, even though I was competing for Jamaica. And that is one of the reasons why I don't take sides. I want the best for all athletes because even though, and this is the first time people might know that I am the first Jamaican to get the opportunity to train at Waco, Texas. Before it was all Americans, but they saw something in me where they felt like give this guy this opportunity. And I think because of his discipline and his dedication, he would take just seize the opportunity. And that opportunity opened doors from so many other Jamaicans, even right now. So I'm happy to say that I'm happy either that I overcame all those challenges, still have challenges before me now. But at the end of the day, I can look back at my career based on all that I've accomplished. NCAA champion, junior college champion, Pan American champion, Goodwill Games champion, CAC champion, World Athletic champion. I am proud that when I look back at my career, I can honestly say that I have no shame in my game. I did everything I was set out to do. And I'm happy that I was able to accomplish so much for myself, my family, my friends, and my country.
Wow, what a story. While you were in that low place, what kind of system? A lot of times we do not think about mental state. How did you, what kind, apart from, I know that you had all these people and there was Michael Johnson and, he's loved by Jamaicans, but you, Gregory, mentally, how did you pull yourself back into the game?
Well, it was very tough enough. And I can say this that at the time, it was myself and Danny McFarlane. We were best friends, and he was not at his best, and I was not at my best. So we both pulled on each other. I was learning from him. He would encourage me. I would encourage him until we eventually found our way. Believe me when I say this, that it is not an easy road. Those dark nights I could do without them, I can tell you that, because uncertainty is not a good feeling. There were times when we were just training, training, training. We weren't getting into meets. Even though we had accomplished a lot earlier in our career, we were just training. We weren't getting into meets. We weren't even getting much pay because we lost our contracts, and the shoe deal was just enough to get by, you know. So it was tough. But for me, once there's a will, there's a way. And because I had age on my side, and I was learning the game as I go along, I knew it was just a matter of time. I wasn't certain, but I knew that if I could find my footing again, that my confidence would grow. And this is why when I look back at the 1999 Pan American Games, I can say that that's one of my greatest performance. I ran 44:59 that day. I won in style. In fact, um, that race showed me that I was able to continue my career. And from that race, I went to the World Championship. I made a final. I started doing some good things, and then that carried over into 2000, and that's history.
Wow. Beautiful. You, as I said before, you have achieved at the highest level sport, academics. For you have studied to the highest level where you are now Dr. Gregory Haughton, a PhD. For student athletes looking on and it is tough for them, what are some of the things that you would say to student athletes who are now trying to get a degree and also to earn a living from this sport that we love called track and field?
I would say you can't do it by yourself. I would say you need to find a team of people who can help to lead and guide you along the way. If you look at many of the athletes today who fail academically and athletically, you can look at the decisions that they made, and you can see that their downfall was based on the decisions. So you would have to ask yourself, where did they get this information from? Why did they choose to go in that direction? And most of the time, they have people around them who do not have their best interests at heart, people who are not competent to lead them in the area that we're talking about, track and field. Maybe some people can lead us in the area of academics, not all the time, because I remember when I was doing my PhD, I couldn't find any of my friends that could help me. So I had to find friends outside of my normal circle in order to help me. And this is what athletes need to do. They need to find good um, uh, academic people. I was friends with some of my with some of my professors. I use the athletic route to get to know them, and they wanted to be friends with me, and I used that to leverage myself in so many ways. So what I would say to some of these athletes here is that you must find the right people around you to support and guide you. This is something serious, especially with track and field. You have a limited amount of time to gain as many medals and accomplishments as possible. So you do not have any time to waste. You do not have time to learn from your own mistakes. And I find that a lot of these athletes today, they are learning from their own mistakes, which is usually cause setback, it causes frustration, it causes disappointment. And as a result of that, they are not able to achieve their highest potential in sports and even in terms of their education.
Wow. Just to stop there a little bit, I have two questions for you from the fans corner, and the fans corner is by Ozzy Scott. And one of the question he asked was, I'm not sure how many people remember this, but I remember it. In 1996 at the Atlanta, I think it was Atlanta Olympics 1996, in the 4x400 meter relay, you ran the third leg. During that handover, you fell.
Mhm.
You fell and you recovered and Jamaica medal. Tell
Yeah.
me about that experience. What was going through your mind when you fell, when you got up and you continue to
Well,
run that leg?
well, I can tell you this, Heather, that's one of the toughest one of the toughest challenge in my life. And as I said, 1996, it seemed like nothing was going right. I just couldn't find my footing. It seemed like everything was going wrong. And I started to get in shape for the relay. So we actually thought that we had a good chance of winning because we had three guys who made the final, and I wasn't too far off from some of them. So I was a weak link on the team anyway because we had Roxbert Martin, Davian Clark, and we have Michael McDonald. All ran well throughout the rounds. So for me, I was just trying to survive. I was doing my best, but again, maybe my mind wasn't in it. I can't fully tell you what happened, but when Roxburgh was coming around, uh, they usually put us where you are at the 200 meters, so that's where you would be. So I was on the the outside because Roxburgh was behind these guys. But when he was coming around the turn, he started to swing on the inside. But when he swung on the inside, I was on the outside because the rule states that we cannot go from the inside to the outside. So I had to stay on the outside. So he started coming back on the outside, and I misjudged his speed, but he was coming in very fast. So by the time I move off, he could have moved to the side and hand the baton, but he was coming in with such a speed that by the time I got the baton and look ahead, I just remember me in the air. But
Going like
because I
this.
was when I was young, I was very acrobatic. I could do all these different type of somersaults and things. So I was able to break my fall, hold on to the baton, and rolled over, got up. The first trip was okay. It was the second time because when I rolled over and I was trying to get going, I stumbled again, and that's what made it extremely difficult. But I can tell you this, Heather, by the time I reached the 100-meter mark, I was dead tired. So I was running and I was wondering where is everybody else because I couldn't maintain it. But it was good because at the end of the day, I still ran a 45 split. It was still good enough to keep the team in third. And Davian Clark took the baton and did what he did best. He held it in
Yes.
position and we finished third.
Wow, beautiful. You went back in Sydney and you won a medal. You were on the podium as an individual medalist. Tell me, as it relates to your Olympic achievement, which was your most memorable, that relay or your individual? I mean, people might say it must be the individual, but I want you to tell me if it was that individual medal or it was that relay that you had to fight to get us on the podium.
Well, I hated that relay moment for a while until I saw how inspiring it was to so many Jamaicans.
Hmm.
And then I saw they put some clip it in the newspaper, and it really inspired a lot of people. And then I started to look at it with a different eyes, to say, wow, even though I was at the lowest point in my career, I was still able to inspire people. So that moment means a lot to me. But in terms of individual accomplishment, the Sydney is my most memorable and precious medal. And I can tell you why. It's not just because it's my first individual medal, but Olympic medal, but the terrain that I had to travel in order to get there, where there were times when I didn't even believe in myself. The people around me didn't believe in me. I got the opportunity, I made use of it. And I remember the days when things weren't going right. and I still held on. And I remember the days when things were going right and I was still able to show appreciation. So to be able to finish third in a field like that out of lane eight, I cherish that moment every single day.
Beautiful, beautiful. With that said, we are now going to roll into some track and field business, some serious stuff. And I want you to just tell me, how you feel about things. Mental health in sport, Davian. As a former athlete, and I know that we talked about it a little bit before, but as a former athlete, how important is mental health in athletes' performance and well-being and their development?
Well, mental health is paramount when it comes to performance because if your mind is not right, believe me, you won't be able to concentrate on what you need to do. Um, and this is why, for me, I am big on making good decisions. I'm big on having the right people in my corner. I'm big on picking my team with the right type of support, people who understand the journey, people who are willing to commit and sacrifice to make sure that my best interest is at the forefront, especially when it comes to running. Because as I said before, you don't have a career beyond 30. For the most part, if you go to 32, you're very fortunate. So when it comes to mental health, I am big on people putting themselves in a situation where they don't create issues for themselves, and people having the right support. I can't overemphasize that. And the right support means, as I said earlier, that it is people around you who put your best interest before their own. And I think a lot of the stress that these athletes are faced with today is because they have people around them who have their best interests and not the athlete's best interest. But at the end of the day, the athlete must have enough sense, knowledge. They may not have the experience, but they must have enough intellect to know what they want, to put together the people that can help them to get what they want. They must be disciplined enough to stay away from some of those situational issues that can affect their way of thinking. And that is why now I am a mentor. That is why I produce things that can help them. But one of the things we find now, Heather, is that a lot of these athletes, they think that track and field is all about running, and then when the personal issues get overwhelming, they realize that it is more than running. And the sad thing about it is they still don't get it. They still don't get it that they need to invest more in their way of thinking in order to be great. They think it's just the physical, and if it was a physical, we would have so many Olympic champions and world champions. It's more than that. It's about having the right mind and the people who can help with the learning so you can develop the right philosophies to guide your path.
But how do we get them? I mean, these are student athletes, and we're sticking to Jamaica now. When you're 17, 18, 19, running super time, you're a young lady, 18, running 10.92, running 10.9694, a boy running 10.02. I mean, when they're 18, how do they get this kind of help? And I'm going to be honest with you. When I was 20, I didn't know what I want to do. So, how do I get that guidance to to push me forward where I make the right decisions and I do not have to learn from myself or
Well,
learn from my mistakes?
first thing is, Heather, that no matter how old you are, if you see track and field as a future, you must understand that it is a business. It's a business. It might not be a business for you, but it is a business for everybody else. It's a business for the coach. It's a business for the agent. It's a business for the manager. It's a business for even J3A and the JOA because they're in the business of making money. They're in the business of advancing themselves. So you as the athlete, you are the asset, but you don't see it that way. So the first thing the athlete needs to do is to understand their value. that they are indeed the asset. And if you take them out of the equation, then there is no need for a coach, a manager, an agent, or the administrators. But because they don't get it, they now become the liability because the coach now is recruiting athletes in order for to get the athlete to be the working bee. So at the end of the day, I don't know what to say. All I can say is that it is important that these young athletes get the right education because their parents can guide them. Their parents might be in it for the money. So it's information and education that is going to save them. And this is why, for me, I am in a position where I can make good decisions because I went to college. College helped me academically. I am able to look at things and I can discern and I can rationalize and I can make decisions based on what I think is in my best interest. Some of these high school athletes, they don't get the chance to socialize with people who are of a higher level of consciousness. So they really don't know much. So to answer your question, Heather, until we start doing more educational programs that can help them to be aware of the true reality of track and field, nothing is going to change. It hurt my heart. I do what I can. I still find it a struggle because they don't trust us as ex-athlete, people who've been there, done that. The younger ones don't respect us. They don't trust us. So as a result, they just have to learn. The sad thing about it, I was talking to a gentleman who is trying to advance himself. And I was saying to him, you never want to wait until you're 28, then you look back at your performance and your career and just regret everything because you made the worst decision there is. And the sad thing is, that's how it's going to be. I see it going down that path for the next 20 years or so.
So, mentorship is extremely important. Extremely important for these junior athletes, these student athletes who are in high school, higher education versus pro.
Here's the thing about it, Heather. Mentoring is someone who has that lived experience. They've been there, they've done that, they see the pitfalls, they see the successes, they know exactly what to do to get someone to where they need to go. Like for me to mentor an athlete is very easy. I can go either way, whether academically or athletically. A lot of times, the individuals that they have around them, they may hold the title mentor, but they never run at the highest level. They never ran at the lowest level. They have no experience in coaching. They have no experience in managing. They have no experience in the administration of the sport. So, how do you consider them a mentor? It's hard for those individuals to guide some of these young athletes the right way when they don't have the qualification in terms of the lived experience. So, at the end of the day, the athletes must be smart enough to ask the right questions. And what I find when I see some of these athletes that they don't ask any questions at all. They
But
just take what you give.
Gregory, they don't know. They don't know. Sadly, a lot of them. I'm going to tell you a little story quickly. I spoke to an athlete off the air, I think it was last year, and he told me that he was given a contract and he signed the contract. And when he realized that contract was only for kids, no money in the bank to pay his bills. So they don't know where are they to go to get that guidance, that when someone approached them and said, okay, we want to affiliate our brand with you, and this is what, because a contract can say, okay, we're giving you $100,000, but $100,000 of what? It could be kit, it could be supplements. So
So
where do they go, Gregory?
it says that when the student is ready, the mentor is also ready. What I find is that even if I try to reach out to some of those athletes, they're not interested.
I
So if they're
agree.
not interested, then it means that whatever they're getting is what they attract. it's simple as that, because even when some of the greats reach out to them, they are not interested. So you can't force knowledge and information and experience down someone's throat if that's not what they want. For me, I've always said this, that in Jamaica we seem to look and measure talent based on the person's physical ability. For me, I take it a different level, because I find that a lot of people had similar abilities that I had physically. But what separated me from them was the way I was looking at life, my mind. And I think that in Jamaica, when we now start to look at athletes based on their level of intelligence, the level of intellect, then that is the true separation. Because the difference between the good and the great and the great and the greatest, it really comes down to mindset. So if we see them over there with the physical talent and they don't know how to articulate themselves and think their way through things, then it is fair to say that they are not as talented as we expect. And if they don't get it upstairs, then the future is going to be bleak for some of them. They won't stay in the business long enough.
So then, my question is, should we start grooming them up here from there in high school?
In fact, in 2019, I went to Jamaica and I met with a couple people. Yeah, and I explained to them, say, look, if we start this program from high school, it's going to be too late. We need to start from the kindergarten stage, where we are educating them on some of the basic things. I call it the grassroots program. It was a success based on what I saw, the people I interact with and socialize with during that time. But I find that the level of support that I wanted from those higher up, it wasn't coming. So to answer your question, Heather, by the time you reach high school, it's too late. A lot of these athletes already develop bad habits, and these bad habits usually carry over into their professional lives.
You went to university straight from high school, higher education, and going pro. What was your system in choosing to balance both as a young man at 17 or 18?
Well, life within itself can show you that 17 and 18, I was not ready for anything um, outside of college. Because when you look at the person's body structure, my level of intellect, it wasn't there compared to someone who is 6, 7, 8 years my senior. They have been there, they have done that. So I remember when I tried to make I didn't even attempt the Olympic Games in 1992, because I knew that it didn't make any sense. And the people around me knew that even if I finished in the top six, it wouldn't be the best idea. So when I went to Central Arizona, it was perfect, because it gave me some time to mature. One of the things, Heather, we are missing out in terms of going to pro at that early age is the level of socialization, the level of time that the body needs in order to develop. And when you get a young athlete, a boy or a girl, and you force them to compete with senior guys, only a few of them can really sustain this over a period of time. Now, I've said it before that when you look on some of our greats, Shelley and Fraser went to college, Elaine Thompson went to college, um,
Veronica Campbell Brown,
all of
Sharon
them went to
Simpson,
college.
Karen Stewart, Aileen
All of
Bailey.
them,
Yeah, there are so many of
all of
them.
them,
Yeah.
all of them. So it's for me, but not just that. When I look at it, I am saying that I was one of the first person in my family to go to high school, and I'm the first person in my family to go to college. A lot of these athletes, these young athletes who now choose to go pro, what if they don't make it? What will they fall back on? They're not making enough money right now, and they don't have an education, and they're from a poor inner city community. They have no inheritance to get anytime soon. What are they going to do if their professional career fails?
And it goes back to my original question. Is it that we need to start teaching them from at least primary school that Sport is a business. Sport is also a career. Is it that we need to start teaching them from early so that they can have a certain mindset that the both go hand in hand?
Well, you hope you can teach them and they would learn, but keep in mind that a lot of the influencers now are coaches, are administrators, are um, the parents who are bought into the concept that they can get the money, the managers and the agents. So it's hard to compete when you have these main influencer telling these young people that you can do it. Remember, they are looking at it from the business standpoint and they are selling the dream, the Usain Bolt dream to everyone. Not knowing that Usain Bolt was very motivated, he had a system in place in terms of his parents that could help to guide and support him along the way. So a lot goes in it, Heather. It's not just I run fast in high school. It means that it will translate into I running fast as a pro. It's a total different ball game, a total different environment altogether.
But what a lot of people do not realize or might not remember, Usain Bolt did not necessarily rush it. Usain Bolt left high school his first year in class one. I think it was 2003 or 2004. Usain Bolt did not go to he went to the 2004 Olympic Games in Athens.
Mhm.
And then he went back to the world championship in 2007. So there was a period when he was taking his time to transition, learn about his body, learn about the sport, and transition. Because I remember I saw a video online with Usain Bolt where it was a voiceover and he was saying, I trained for 4 years for this moment.
Yes, it took him about 5 years approximately because when he came on the scene, I think I would say, let's say 2002, and
Yeah,
I
he
remember
won the World
2004.
Juniors in 2002 in Kingston.
Right, and I remember when he went to the World Championship two in I think 2005, he was not a factor at all, and he came back 2 years after that, 2007, and he finished second behind Tyson Gay. So it took him time to mature. But the thing about it is that Usain Bolt had good people in his corner.
Yes,
You
he
know,
did.
he was based on what he did as a junior. There was a lot riding on him. So again, he had a structure in place. He had parents who were highly involved, highly knowledgeable. They could give him good advice. He respected his parents. We don't always see this. And when we talk about parents, we are talking about mother and father. One of the things you find in Jamaica with some of these young athletes is that they only have a parent, maybe a mother, most of the time a mother. There is no structure in terms of the father being there to give them and guidance and protect them. So again, if they start out with only single parent and mother, then they are in a deficit right there because it means that all the other influencers can manipulate if necessary because there is no male figure to protect the young boy or the young girl.
Before we go further, I'm just going to read some comments. I see some very interesting comments on the live here. Latoya is saying the influencers are all for themselves and not thinking about the athletes. And we agreed to that. I've been saying that for years. You just said it.
I'm not saying
Latoya,
that all influencers do it,
yes,
so
not
we're not going
all,
to lump
some of them,
everybody.
right?
Right.
Some of them. I agree with you. And she also said that athletes nowadays don't take time to learn their body and the craft. Some of them, we're going to say some again. And these are some of the comments that are coming. She also said some of these young juniors don't really have the support, and is what we are saying. Do we as a country, do we understand sport as a business and as a career, Gregory?
I think we do, but I
But
think, yeah, I think those who are in charge are benefiting tremendously off the backs of the athletes. Um, for me, I can tell you, and I know people always say bad things against the J3A, but I remember in my time when I established myself that they were very supportive in many different ways. So it comes back down to the leadership of those organizations, and it comes back down to what they see in you. And this is why I would highly recommend for the younger athletes to have competent people around them that can liaison with some of the members of the J3A who hold some of these influential positions. Because if you find the right individuals, they can support your cause. They did for me. Um, but at the end of the day, just like how they understand that it is a business, the athlete too must understand that it is a business and that they are leveraging their talents to get what they want based on what is right for them. And that is where we have that major disconnect because the athletes are not understanding that, look, my talent is only going to be with me for a time. So I need to leverage it in terms of what I can get from the coach and the agent and the managers. That's what I did. I did that from high school to college, straight up into the pros.
I think a lot of our athletes they do not realize that they are entrepreneurs. They need to understand that they're entrepreneurs and they are working for themselves. When they go out there and train, they are putting in work into their brand and they are selling themselves. And to be honest with you, a lot of them need guidance. I am seeing it and I'm watching it from afar. A lot of them need guidance, but where are the visionaries to put plans in place to ensure that this great legacy that we have that is coming back from 1940, the 1930s, the 1940s, where are the visionaries to continue building on this legacy that will develop the youths, educate them about the industry? We need to educate them. And I keep saying we, as in myself too, we need to educate them. We need to be generating revenue. We need to upgrade our infrastructure. We need benefits for the athletes, especially at retirement, or we need emergency funds when athletes are injured or have an illness. A certain athlete told me that she competed for the country. And when she came back to Jamaica as a junior, she was injured. And she told me that if it wasn't for the late Mr. Herb McKinley, she would not have had a career in track and field because Mr. Herb McKinley had to find old boys and send her out of the country to get treatment so that she could continue her career. We need to do better, Gregory, because this is a business, this is a career.
Right. You said a lot. Um, I'm going to I'm going to put a different spin on it, Heather, because we are putting a lot of responsibilities on the federations, on the coaches, on the agents, and the managers. But just like how you see in Bolt's parents took to the forefront to make sure that their children, that their child was safe and that their child did not sign with the wrong group of people, right? So they took personal responsibility for the development of their son. Parents need to be educated as well because the parents are sitting by and allowing someone else to have total control over their children. And that is where we too need to focus. So I'm saying it is unfair to put all the blame on the J3, the JOA, the groups, the track clubs, and ignore the fact that the parents too are to be blamed. The parents allow their children to sign with the wrong group of people. So until maybe we too can start educating parents, I give you an example. I went to Garvey Maceo, and that was the only school where the parents came out to listen to me speak. and the parents asked questions. And then I found out that in that era, it was mainly fishermen, and the transition would be from high school to become fishermen. So the parents wanted more for their children, so they came out and they listened. Right now, if the J3A is having a seminar only for parents, the parents are not going to come. So how can we put all the blame? I'm just saying, Heather, that's one way of looking at it. Because I can tell you, for my kids, I take personal responsibility once they are under the age of 18. And once they become 18 and above, I will still guide them if they're under my roof and my supervision. So for parents to allow their little girls and little boys to be with others without taking a proactive stand, that's very dangerous.
But you see, the thing is, I am not putting all the blame, and I would never put all the blame on any of the federation. But the federation is the governing body that govern the sports and people following protocol and do whatever. All I am trying to say is that I think they need to do a little more in terms of develop a system where people can get information, have workshops, find a way to
Totally agree.
include it. And if you do it and people don't turn up, then nobody can say. But
Totally agree.
I've heard
Totally
so
agree.
many athletes saying, "Oh my God, I don't even know how to get information on signing a contract. What do I look for? What are the keywords to look for?" There are athletes out there don't know where to turn when somebody approach them. They can't even say to the sponsor or whomever that, okay, I'm going to talk with the federation, an agent from the federation, and I'll get back to you. So my
And
thing
I can tell
is,
you this, Heather. Anybody right now in Jamaica who want sound advice, send them to my website, www.drhoughton.com, or they can go to my social media, um, and they can find me. People find me all the time. People shoot me questions all the time. At the end of the day, I'm saying that if somebody wants success, they will seek after it, you know. But not everyone really genuinely seek after the success. And that is a fact.
I totally agree with you, but I hate to see, our young talented people, falling by the wayside because there's no system to help them, or even if a system is there, they don't know how to access it. But just moving a little bit from that, there is a disconnect between track and field organizers and the fans in Jamaica. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. I've seen too many track and field events at the stadium, and the stadium is empty. I have done my own little I have observed that a lot of the track and field meets that we have in Jamaica, they are not marketed. If you're a track and field fan, you have an idea of the calendar. And I have watched meet in Botswana, and when you look, they have people in the entire stadium. Bermuda, there was a meet in Bermuda recently, and when you look, fans all around. When you look at our track and field meet, sometimes it breaks my heart. And when I go on social media, sometimes just to see if they're promoting these meets, you hardly can find anything. Why are we not, if sport is such a business and we understand it, why is marketing not involved, Gregory?
Hmm. That is a tough one.
I
I,
know, and a
I,
touchy one also.
yes, I look, boys and girls championship. It's one of the biggest meets in the world. They do a good job marketing that. One of the things I find with some of our people is that we do not want to do the work. We want that easy reward or return. So it can be done. I think that just like now, you see they promote more meets, they have more meets for the athletes to run, they can market it. One of the things I would hope, though, is for a unity among everyone, because I feel as if there are too many rivalries in terms of clubs, coaches, and administrators. We have a small group of people for track and field per se, and I think if they come together and monitor and regulate some of these meets, together they can achieve a whole lot more than if they try to go solo. So I think that might be the next thing, the best advice I can give them, to say, instead of having 20 meets that is run by 20 different individuals, maybe you can have 10 meets and we merge these meets, make sure that there is a package and we market them, and use some of the money to help the athletes develop.
But you know something, in this day and age, it is not hard and it is not that expensive to market a meat. There are so many social media platforms that you can use, and people are on them wherever you want the audience. If you want the more mature audience, you can go to Facebook and Twitter. If you want the millennials, you go to Instagram. If you want the Gen Z or whatever they are, you go to TikTok. Wherever you can, it is easy. And every time I
It's
see,
not that easy because people may not pay for a product if it's just regular guys running. And they said it before that
true,
track
true.
and field is not where it's supposed to be, because some of the top athletes are ducking each other. Back in the days, you would have a Ben Johnson, a Carl Lewis, a Raymond Stewart, and so on competing every week. You don't have that now.
But
You may
marketing,
have one good athlete in the race, and everybody else just are fillers. People not going to come out and support
and
that.
that is why we have to find a creative way to market track and field events. Um, I think one of the most successful way to get fans in the stands for a track and field meet, merge merge the arts with sports. Put music and sports together, and you will bring people into the stadium. So you will bring the people who are music lovers, and you will bring the people who are sport. You have to find creative ways in order to do that. And as you rightfully say earlier, maybe we do not want to do the work. So if I am having a meet and the sponsor says, I give you $10 million, I settled for the $10 million. What about the gate receipt for 35,000 people um that the stadium can accommodate? What about that money in the bank? What about that revenue? It is not important.
Well, I think they can find different ways to
Ah,
um to make it work. But I can tell you that's not my expertise in
I
terms of
I, I
that.
know, I know, I'm
So
not.
so so at the end of the day, um, I would say that as Jamaicans, if they see the need to use the revenues or promote these things to get revenues to do something else, they're not going to do it to help just athletes. That's just the type of the group of people that we have. So it's a very sticky thing, and to overcome that one, that's a monumental task to overcome today.
Yeah, we keep saying that we're a track and field country, but it's not showing, it's not showing. And we continue to do, the track and field meet. And I have to talk because I mean, I'm a track and field fanatic. And when I observe other places having track and field events, and when I look in the stands, I'm like, why can't we do this? And the organizers, I don't know if the organizers are not realizing that marketing, promotion, and marketing is very, very, very important in sport. And I'm going to give you an example. In 2020, before the pandemic, USA Olympic trials for 2020, when the Olympics was supposed to be in 2020, their trials sold out months, at least 6 months before the trials that was supposed to be in June. Of course, we had the pandemic and it never happened. And that's what I'm talking about. Promoting your event, get people excited, give people a reason to put on their clothes and come in the stadium. But as you said, but it's just something I had to touch on because I realized that more and more we are just making the same mistakes as you said. But in closing, I just want to just say one more thing, or just to ask another question. And somebody asked me to ask you this question: how did you make a decisive decision that you want to take your education to the highest level instead of earning money on the circuit in track and field?
Well, for me, I usually look at history, and I look at where and what history is saying to me. And when I looked at the people in my career at the time, I saw where if you reach 32 and you're still in the business, that you were lucky. So because of that, I made the decision that I was not going to run past 32 because of what the evidence revealed to me. So whatever I was going to do, I was going to try to make as much money as I could leading up to 32 and then walk away. If I was still on the ride at 33, then I would do it. But if I wasn't at the top of my game, I would walk away. So for me, I made the decision that at 32, life is just going to get started for me. And one of the things I can tell you that most of the athletes, when it's time for them to retire, they don't have any experience working in corporate America or corporate Jamaica. And as a result, they have to start from ground zero. So if they retired with a certain amount of funds, then it is my hope that they can use that funds and turn it over and become their own CEO or their own president for an organization. But if they don't have the academics to back it up and they don't have um, the money, then dog nyam them supper. That's what my mother would say.
As we
So
would say, yes.
for me, it's about looking at the people who came before me, look at what they had accomplished, and look at what they are saying in that moment. And that is why the wise thing for these younger persons to do, at least to do, is to reach out to people like myself and Danny McFarlane and Davian Clark and many others to see what are some of the pros and cons that we can take from you in order to advance ourselves. But it always worked this way where the younger folks think that they're way smarter than us. And as a result, they don't want to hear what we have to say while we are sitting there saying, wow, we've been there, we have done that, we narrowly escaped these pitfalls. Now it's their time to drop in it because they choose to.
Wow. The Track and Field Federation in Jamaica, is there anything that you wish they had done differently when you were competing?
Well, my mindset, Heather, is totally different than others. As I said before, I use my talent and I leverage it to the best of my ability. I got way more than many other athletes because I knew how to interact and socialize, and they some of them realized that I had a certain amount of knowledge and I knew what I want. So for me, my mindset was to get what I could for myself in terms of creating opportunities for me. And the reason why I did that, because looking back again at history, you heard the stories, you heard how people are, and I never ever wanted to find myself in a situation where I got stuck and promises were not fulfilled. So, like now, I see that they are providing health care for some of the athletes. We didn't need that because we were more in the States for the most part. Um, but I'm happy that they are providing healthcare now. I'm happy that athletes are getting stipend and bonuses and stuff based on performance. I wish they had a tier where the funds were a little more lucrative in terms of what they offer. So there's a lot more they can do. For me, I got what they felt I deserve, and I'm happy with what they gave me. And I have no regrets at all here. I don't look back and say I should have and I could have because I don't live my life that way.
In closing, I just want you to say something to our current athletes and the juniors looking on or waiting in the wings.
Well, I've said this many a times. They can go on my platforms and they can hear me talking that I summarize it this way. I had Michael Johnson on my platform and he said that in the sporting business, he went out and he got coaches, physio, agents, managers, etc. And he said that all of them worked for him. He put in place a group of people who had his best interests at heart. I endorse that to the fullest because I know that in order for us to achieve our highest potential, we need help. But if you're working for people who are looking out for themselves, then they will not put your best interests first. And I think that in order for, or I should say, the making of a champion, especially in a time like this, they need to get good advice. So I'm big on advice. I'm big on making good decisions. I'm big on making sure that you have competent people in your corner that can help you to make good decisions. And as Mike said, the final decision is always up to him. I live my life that way. There's no reason why others should be making my final decision for me. I'm not that type of person. So I would encourage the young athletes now to go out and learn as much as you can. Get a mentor who can use their live experience to guide you and make sure that at the end of the day, while you learn, that you understand how the decisions are being made and that you can make some of these decisions for yourself because there will come a time when you need to make that final decision in terms of do you live or do you die? You must make that decision.
Dr. Gregory Haughton, thank you very much, aka Dr. Greg. Thank you very much for being here and sharing with us. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome and thanks for having me. I know that when it comes to loving your country and loving the fans and loving the sport and loving the athletes, you are number one. You go all out for
Thank
your
you.
people.
Yes, I do. I do love my athletes. I love you guys very, very, very much. And I'll say that over and over. And I appreciate the work that you have done for us. And, just being a part of the legacy, you've added your contribution to our legacy. And I thank you very much for that, Gregory.
To God we give the glory for that, Heather. And you enjoy the best, the night, the best of the night, and you continue to continue your work. And I know with time it will pay off.
Thank
God
you.
bless you and your fans.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Fans, how you guys doing? Oh my gosh, what a chat. Kadim, big up yourself. Kadim Barrett, one Kino on track. Who else we have there? Latoya was there, but Latoya looked like she gone to bed. Sandy, British, big up yourself, girl. Big up everybody. Big up everyone. Let's see who else was there. Kino, it looked like your channel name changed, so but guys, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, we love the sport and we love the athletes them and we just want to see, Latoya, I need you to come on. Look here, guys. I'm going to have a night for fans and I need you guys to be a part of it. I need to hear how the fans feel about our track and field and if as a country we are doing the right thing for our athletes. So thank you very much. Lataya, bless up yourself. Sandy British, bless up yourself. Kadim, we need to do a quiz for World Championship. Are you in? The prize will be bigger this time. Kina, bless up. Everybody, bless up. Thank you guys very much. I'm checking out what Kina said. May I nominate Kadim because me know. Oh, me know him have enough to say. Yes, man. Kadim, I need you on the show one night. We need to talk about the fans and how we feel about the sport of track and field and the whole thing and all of that. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, man. We need to have a quiz. We might do it a little different this time. World Championship quiz. So, guys, please go and study up about World Championship and who were the winners, who were the first World Championship, where was the first World Championship held, the whole story, so that we can have some fun time. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.